In today's video, we're going to talk about how to find the correct price at which you should be listing your home. We're going to talk about why it is so important to list your home at its true market value. We're going to talk about who can help you in this process of finding that correct price. And we're going to take some time to talk about whose perspective you most need to keep in mind so you can keep as much money for yourself at the end of the day. One of the most important things to keep in mind is that your price is your most important piece of marketing. You might think it's great listing photos or where your home gets seen on the internet, but it is actually that list price. It is so important that you list your home as close as possible to the true market value. And let's talk about why. So when we talk about supply and demand, let's think about the XY axis. Over here, you have price, low price, high price. Over here, you have quantity, low quantity, high quantity. And you have two players in the market. You have the suppliers, and that's going to be you. You're supplying a house, you're supplying that good that the population, those who are home buyers, want. They are the demand. So over here is a supply curve, and probably at a pretty high price, a lot of people would love to sell their home. And then just the opposite relationship is happening in terms of buyers. They are the demand. When price is really high, there are very few people who want to buy a house, but the lower the price goes, the more and more people enter the marketplace and want to buy. Now, in terms of supply and demand, there is a point of equilibrium where people understand that at a certain price, the most number of people are going to want to play and be involved in the market. That is that point of equilibrium. And you, the seller, you want to be selling your house at that true market value, where that point of equilibrium is, because that brings the most amount of buyers possible to the market. If you're sitting, say you're up over here, you're missing out on all of this potential buyer pool. And you might think, well, who cares? I only need one buyer who will come and buy my house at that really unreasonable high price that I want. But that is not what's going to happen. They might come and look at your home, but they're still not going to give you an offer that is the price that you want. They are savvy. People have good information. And unless your house is extremely unique and can't be replicated in any other way, for the most part, people are just going to go to the next house that is reasonably priced and make it into what they want. And I'm going to give you some data behind this. So if you list your house at that true market value, 95% of all potential buyers are going to be interested at your home. They're going to be paying attention, they're looking at the photos, and they may come in and tour your house and write an offer. But if you don't hit that true market value and you list at, say, just 5% above that true market value, all of a sudden the potential pool of buyers that are interested in your home drops to 50%. And if you get it even further wrong and you're 10% off above market value, now the potential buyer pool drops to 30%. And at the end of the day, you are leaving a lot of money on the table for yourself. The next thing I want to talk with you about is who you choose as an agent. Your agent can be your best ally in understanding what is the true market value of your home, because you may have first gone onto a site, as most people do, it's understandable, a site like Zillow that gives you an estimate of what it thinks your house is worth. Now, whether you liked that information or you didn't like that information, you should know that it's probably not the right information. Those kinds of estimates are notoriously wrong. It will really help you a lot to have an agent who has a lot of local knowledge and understands what's happening with homes and prices and what's expected in the near future. They are the ones that are probably going to be your best resource for listing your house at that true market value. And I'll also say you really want an agent who is going to tell you the truth. Even if you decide not to hire that agent, you want an agent who's not just going to be a yes man and fold over to whatever you want to do, because you probably do care about money. And at the end of the day, you are leaving a lot of money on the table if both you and your agent decide to just do whatever it is that you want to do. And there's two reasons why that's true. One, because if you list above that true market value, you're going to be on the market for a lot longer than necessary. And during that time, you're going to be paying bills and you're going to be paying a mortgage if you have one. Also, why you're leaving money on the table is because even if you have a much smaller pool of buyers who are interested in your home gets stigmatized very quickly. This is what happens with buyers. If they see a house and it doesn't go under contract quickly, even if it's just because the seller was unreasonable and didn't list it at the right price, Buyers have a very different line of thinking. Your property gets stigmatized. What they do is they say, that home didn't go on the market quickly. Everything else is going on the market quickly. And they begin to make assumptions that something is wrong with your home. But there wasn't anything wrong with your home. You just didn't get the price right. So now you are also wasting money because those people, even if they decide to put in an offer, they've already made up their mind that they should probably be offering you something that is below the true market value. And now this is another case in which you've left money on the table. And for some people, I know this can be pretty hard to hear, but if money is the biggest driving force for you, I think what could really help you stay focused on what matters to you at the end of the day is to think about your profit. So try not to focus so much on what that sale price is. Try to focus on what you walk away with at the end of the day. Because again, if you don't list at that true market value, you're going to be leaving money on the table. So think about that profit, because most everybody has almost perfect information about what homes are worth. So you're not fooling anybody, you're not gaming the system. So just try to focus on that profit that you walk away with at the end of the day. And I think that will help alleviate some stress and help you move forward in this process. Finally, when you're choosing the right price, I really want you, as much as you can, to keep the buyer's perspective in mind. When you think about buyers, you're courting buyers throughout this entire process, from when you first list your home to when you actually close at the end of the day. So when buyers see somebody, a seller that is being reasonable and listing their home at the true market value, you've already made goodwill very high from the moment you go under contract. And the reason why that's so important is there is so much potential for negotiations to come up and for money to be conceded while you're under contract. So you want to keep goodwill as high as possible. It's not that you're willing to just fold and allow the buyer to walk all over you, but the goodwill is high and they say, okay, this is a reasonable seller. So then the buyer isn't steeling themselves for a hard transaction. They don't have that mindset of, I've got to have my guard up, I've got to negotiate every step of the way. You're showing your buyers that you are a reasonable seller. And so that helps goodwill stay high throughout the whole process. So I hope this information is helpful for you. If you're thinking about selling your house in Boulder or the nearby area, you're welcome to head to my website and get on my calendar. We can have a conversation. We can talk about pricing. You can interview me, see if I might be the right agent for you. But whoever you choose, I hope that this information is helpful for you so that you can list your house as best as possible at that true market value. So you have the most potential buyers coming in, the most potential for competitive offers coming in, and that you end up with a smooth, happy transaction at the end of the day. Thanks for your time. Best of luck in selling your home. Bye.